Hey Thomas. Ja, ich stream jetzt immer. I'm streaming. Hey Tato. Hey Thomas. Ja, ich stream jetzt immer. I'm streaming. Jean-Claude Panda is a friend of mine from Hanover. he can maybe tell that to you himself. I don't know if he's here. Hey guys, how's it going? How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of your favorite show on the internet. And today we have some really cool hacky shit. I mean, I have a new, as you see, I have a new background floating up in space, as it should be. And always working on the stream and stuff like that. And I do also have kind of like a new chat and stuff layout. And I want to thanks to everyone who subscribed. Thanks so much for that. This is how, you know, we can make this stream grow and get new interesting things and new people and stuff. Hey Jean-Claude, hi. And I just want to show you guys, if for the ones who have subscribed, and you see the little subscriber goal. So 6 people have subscribed already, and I put the subscriber goal to 20, which to me felt like it's a reasonable number. It's not too crazy for starters. And you will get all of the goodies we do on the stream. So every time I do stream, I'm just gonna collect everything I do in a folder, and I will send out the link to the stuff, the good stuff, on Discord. Hey Tato. Yeah, I mean, I'm in quarantine also. I'm in quarantine since beginning of 1st of March. I haven't left this room since beginning of March, but good thing is I'm in space, so there's a lot of space here, so that's not too bad, I suppose. So what I was saying is that, guys, in order to access all the good stuff, you have to join us on the Discord server. And the URL is down there, discord.martesteinfort.com. And then, if you are a subscriber, you will get access to all the links and everything we talk about on each episode on the Discord server. And if you have subscribed, I can show you how that works. So this is a folder. I already put some stuff in there for tonight. And on Discord, let me just show you how that works. In your settings, yeah. In connections, you want to make sure that you have this channel, and then you have to click join. And that way you can get to the subscriber only channels, right? And that way you also can get the new nice emotes for the chat I have here. And you might know that those guys might seem familiar. So if you're a subscriber, you can use them in the chat. And yeah, I can maybe just post the link in the chat here so that you can just click on it. Yeah, I hope I didn't. Yeah, it's not too long. Just my name and Discord in it. So yeah, so far only one person did that. only Emre managed to link his Discord so that he gets this stuff. So if you again, like if you want to get all the stuff we're talking about on those streams, and obviously watching the streams is free, and I will put little links and little tutorials made from the stuff we talk about on the streams online on YouTube. Everything is on YouTube. That's all free, but if you want to get access to the files, you can subscribe, and then you will be able to look at that stuff. So tonight I'm really excited. We're gonna do some cool hacky shit. Yeah, see, the Streamlabs bot also posts the link in the chat all the time, so you can also just follow the bot. So for tonight we have a guest, obviously, Sibel, and we are going to talk about art and Spark, and maybe do some music in the end. We would see what happens. It's all spontaneous, and I'm super happy that worked out, because we had some technical difficulties. We'll see if it works out in the end or not. But before we do that, I had a couple of things I wanted to show you. Well, first of all, remember maybe when we did the last stream, I did put up this poll on the Spark AR community website, where I asked people what they wanted to learn, what they wanted me to talk about. And we did talk about, with Matt on the last stream, we did talk a lot about shaders. And what we touched upon was also matrix transformations, and he said, well, he's kind of just flicking through them and to see what works. So I thought, okay, this ties in nicely with the other subject you guys wanted to talk about, which is transformation and vertex displacement inside of Spark. So I'm going to do that and talk about that a little bit, and hopefully be as concise and calm as Matt was last time. I heard a lot of good things from you guys. Thanks for all the positive feedback, and that was a good episode, and I really appreciate that. And I did learn a lot also. And at the end of the day, that's why I'm doing this stuff, right? To learn myself. But before we do that, I had a little kind of like epiphany. So let's just maybe really quickly do a little exercise here. And let's just say you have a Spark project, right? I'm just going to close all that stuff for now. So let's just say you're working on your Spark project, as you do, right? And you see it's now, the window is now also floating in the universe, which is kind of cool. So you're working on your Spark project and you're adding beautiful stuff to it. What am I going to add? Obviously, my favorite torus. I'm going to put it in, and then I'm going to add another one. And then maybe I can rotate it, right? And then maybe, I don't know, rotate it again. And then I have here my beautiful collection of tori, I suppose. What is that? Tori? I don't know. Anyway, donuts. Nom nom. Donuts. Oh, actually, that calls for skeleton dance. Shark time. So yeah, we have those donuts, and then let's say, okay, I'm gonna save those donuts. I'm gonna save those beautiful donuts in today's date. And then, you know, maybe a day passes or whatever, and I'm working on the new scene. And now I want to, and I'm building something, and maybe I have a face tracker, let's say, and I do something in my face tracker. I don't know, I add another donut to it or whatever. And now let's just assume, for the sake of the argument, this is not a donut, but this is like a very complex scene you've been working on for days, or maybe it's something you want to bring in. And oh, hey, Josh, yeah, he's using the emotes. Very good, my friend. That's how it works. I haven't even figured it out myself, but cool. So let's say you know, you worked on that stuff and you want to bring your donuts you did yesterday in that scene. So it turns out in Spark, unfortunately, there's import but only for FBX and stuff, but not for other Spark scenes. Very bad, very bad. So there's this thing called blocks, and let's just look at the block real quick for those of you who don't know. A block is essentially a Spark scene inside of a Spark scene. So I can do this block, put that here in my face tracker, and now it's still empty. Oh, and also I don't have any face, so let's get this guy again. So now I can go in here, and inside of this I can put anything I want, really. So inside of my block root, see, this is important. This is this block root. So this is anything below this. If I click save, gets updated in my original scene, right? So this is basically just a scene inside a scene. Okay, so you're gonna say, well, amazing. Then why don't you just use this to get stuff in? Well, the problem is what I saved now, the file I saved here, it is donuts. If I look in there, it's a project, so I cannot open it. I can just, well, I can open it, but I cannot merge it with the other scene. So, as you might have guessed, I found something that lets you do this, and it's this. It's a script I made, basically, and I called it rootkit. Shark time! So what it does, it's just a website really, but it's basically like a tool where you can choose the files, go donuts, and it will give you this, which is, as you see here, an AR block, right? So here, what it says here, this is what's inside of the AR project. You don't have to worry about that really. But basically what it gives you is an AR block, and I just hope that it works now. So basically if I now drag this AR block inside of here, it does open as a block. And if I now drag that in my face tracker, I see nothing. Well, that's too bad. But if I open it here in this edit thing, I see that all of my scene stuff is still available here. So the device, the camera, focal distance, all of that stuff, which is not usually inside of a block, is still available, but this block root is what's important. So if I move the stuff I want below this block root here, save it, then I should see all my beautiful donuts. Fuck yeah! Very cool, shark time. And yeah, so that's it. If you want the script, then just subscribe. You're gonna get it, and you can just do that. And it's like it definitely beats redoing everything, because so far really what you had to do before, more or less, is redoing all the stuff, get the assets in manually, and so on and so forth. So we could end this tutorial here, and this is more or less what I want to do. But of course, we have to go deeper. So for you that knows this channel, you know I'm not gonna fuck around with shit like that, but I want to show you also how it works, why it works, and what's up. So alright, so let's look into what's going on. So this is now again the folder we had with the original donut AR project, right? And now if you look into that file, and if you just use a zip program to open it, you will see that actually it's just a zip file, right? So it's just a packed file. And inside of this packed file, you have this, which is the donut, GLB, is a binary mesh format. And this is also what the tool shows you here. And if you have more than one mesh, it will list all of those. And then you have this main.json. And this is actually that's really the scene file. And if we unpack it, I'm just gonna unpack it here. And if we open it, then we are gonna see that this is actually just a text file. Let me just use Notepad to use something that everyone has. So if I drag that in here, I see this is just basically a bunch of values, right? And if you look at what that is, you can kind of see this is a Spark scene. So you have camera near, children, you have texture. So it looks like this is something that's going on with the Spark scene, right? And what I did then is I looked into, well, how is actually an AR project file different from an AR block file? And I used this tool here, and this is also a link in the folder. It's a JSON viewer, it's called, and this is actually quite handy because this allows you to view this JSON. I mean, first of all, you can beautify it, so this is a lot easier to read. And there you already see, oh, okay, so this is all the data Spark is using. But you can also look at it as a tree, which looks like this. And this is, as you probably know from file folders or whatever else, you can just open that, and the cameras, this is a, object, I don't know, this is the JSON is actually a JavaScript object notation, I suppose it's called. Let's see what's this actually called. Yeah, JavaScript object notation. So it's actually a JavaScript object. That's why it's called object. And inside of that is all of the stuff that goes on in the Spark scene. And you see here, this is the file version. This is the program AR Studio Skylight. This is still from the old AR Studio. And there's also something is block document. So you would think, oh, okay, if I just click is block document, then I would be good. But actually, that's not what I did to the file, because if you do that, all of the stuff that is now still in here, so device, camera, focal distance, all of that stuff will be gone. Anything you do below that will be gone also. So what you want really is this block root here, right? So, well, where is this block root? And you will find that if you go to children, you have here, this is basically, those are all the objects in the scene, right? This is basically like a pre-made thing for fonts, for textures, materials, and so forth. And you have here the 3D models and all of this stuff going on. So basically what I did, I just figured out how to inject this block root object in the JSON. And then I wrote a little wrapper with a nice, beautiful background and a nice logo I made. You know how you always like, I don't know if you know, but like this ASCII art shit, and I love that stuff. It's like, this reminds me of my youth. So yeah, and this is obviously much more handy than, fucking around with stuff like that and just manually going through that shit and kind of copying and pasting that stuff. And this is what I literally did to figure that out. And this is by no means something that, it will probably break. It might break when Facebook does an update. You don't know. I think it should not. I think it's actually really, really cool, because seriously, one of the main pain points of Spark AR. Oh, wrong. Yeah, sorry. Fuck! The main pain points really is, why the fuck can't I merge scenes? Why cannot I merge scenes? That's what I want to know. Well, anyway, now you can. Amazing, Shark Time. And yes, it doesn't work for everything. There are scenes that don't work with this tool. And so, your mileage may vary, but check it out. And it's also, and again, like the tool is like super hacky. The way I do it, if you know JavaScript and you look into the source code, you're gonna be like, oh my god, this is really bad. But I might work on it a little bit more. And yeah, Lasse, I'm actually using a JS zip. I'm not even touching the zip. I have this JavaScript library which allows for manipulation of packed content, which is obviously much nicer. So I'm really just injecting my code into Spark, and that, and again, like the beautiful thing about it is that, so hey, so what you can do actually is, even without my script, what you can do is if you just literally take this AR project here, right? I'm gonna make a copy, and then rename it to AR block CK. Yes, it will import. See, it will import, and it will still work. You will have the your donuts here, but because there's no block root inside of it. So if I go here, do edit, and there's, oh sorry, this is the wrong guy. So I probably have to, now it's getting confused because it's there twice. So if I just take the you know, the file that is renamed, and you go to edit, there's no block root, so you will not be able to move that stuff. And actually, one thing, I cannot guarantee that this will work when you upload scenes. Big disclaimer, right? So this is, I'm gonna make this very clear to you. I don't know whether those files will pass upload, right? I do not know. I have no idea. I haven't tried it. But the point is, if you want to like try quick things and you have scenes lying around and you want to merge shit to just try stuff, it drove me nuts that you had to literally rebuild shit, or just, you know, I don't know. It's crazy. That way you can just import it, and maybe you will fuck up your scene and you will have to rebuild it in the end. I don't know. You can try. Again, your mileage may vary. This is a very, as I said, very hacky. This is not like a necessarily production tool, but I think it's fucking amazing. So yes, Shark time. They might actually check on upload. Yeah. So if you, so that would be actually something that we could optimize. So basically, if you look at the stuff, all the objects have this, whatever this is here. It's a hash, or I don't really know what that is. But I mean, you could obviously do it in a way that it injects a block and that it just copies this hash to the block. Right now, I'm just using a blank anything, and Spark doesn't care. But you could definitely optimize it, and you could also say, hey, you know, it just kicks out everything that is not allowed in a block, and it moves the stuff into the block root itself, and so on and so forth. But again, like I just discovered this 3 days ago, so it's a hack. It can be optimized, and you know, just, I don't know, play around with it and see how it works for you, and then we can maybe optimize it as we go along. Lars is asking whether blocks get merged when you do export. Well, we can try. What if I go to here and I'm just gonna import my beautifully engineered hacky block shit, and then of course I have to bring that back to block root. Save it, and then it's here, and then I'm going to do export save donuts merged. How do I even do export? Oh, upload to Spark. Okay, then I do export, and then I'm gonna do, oh no, watch export. Okay. I don't know, should be fine, I guess. Oh, the one thing that is important actually, the AR block file, right? It needs to be in the same directory as the project file. If it's not, then it can't reference the objects in here and whatever else is in there, and it will complain, right? Like if I take this guy, sorry, and I move it one folder up, and I try to import it again, it will not work. It will say import failed, right? But if I put it back in where it belongs, because donuts belong to other donuts, I can import it and it works. right? So that's the other thing. Cool. Alrighty. So yes, amazing. Dancing skeletons. Shark time! Woo! Craziness ensues. So yeah, guys, like if you have any other questions or whatever you want to ask, then you can just chime in the chat and ask stuff. That's the benefit of being live. And you will be able to see that stuff on YouTube and on Twitch after that's done. But now you have the chance to ask questions. So don't hold back, just ask me. And again, like if you subscribe on Twitch, you will be able to get all this beautiful stuff we're talking about. And, you know, take it, experiment with it, do whatever you want with it. Alrighty, so next thing we wanted to talk about is a little bit more vertex displacement. So essentially, let's get all of this stuff out of the way. This we still need. Oh, that looks so beautiful. And so on the last stream also we talked about that, and I'm just gonna get this pass-through guy here. I'm gonna put it also in today's state, and then just talk a little bit more about vertex displacements and what actually transformation matrices are, and what you can do with them, and why you should care. So yeah, so let's get our trusty donut back again. Oh, there's a block in it. I'm just gonna, yeah, say better safe and sorry, restart. I don't know, you know what this block shit does with your scene, really. So get the torus, get it in here, and then if you want to do the vertex displacement stuff, you can just get the pass-through patch, then set the material to pass through here, and then your donut will be gone. And now what you have to do, you have to connect the color and the position. So color, we can just put a value and I don't know, red. And then the position, and so this is basically the position of every vertex in our object, in our donut, right? So we want to have the vertex attribute local position. And if we put it in here, we see there's something, but no matter how I zoom or rotate, it's not doing anything, right? And if you look at the pre-made patch materials from Facebook, you will notice that what you actually have to do is you have to take a vertex transform, the model view projection, and multiply that with the local position, and then you will see that it actually appears how you would expect. All right, so why is that, and what's the deal with this model view projection thing here anyway, right? Okay, so let's look into that together real quick and learn a bit of OpenGL. So this is basically a website that's really nice to learn that stuff, and I also put the link in the folder, but you can just Google learn OpenGL. And so basically the idea is that you have several coordinate systems you're talking about. So an object, first of all, is stored in local space. So what does that mean? Well, that means that our donut, for example, sorry, there's a question if we change the inputs. I say GL Tokyo asks. The inputs of the block can be changed if you're talking about the block stuff still. Yes, you can add inputs, and that's the whole point of it. You can pass data into your scene, which otherwise you couldn't. So yes, you can change, and it works. You can communicate with inside the block. That's the whole point of getting the block root in there, if that was your question. So anyway, so let's get back to the new topic at hand. So we have the local space, which is basically the points of my object here stored in local space. So basically, if you say, hey, okay, you have a coordinate system, and it has a like this, right? And it has an origin here, 0, 0, 0. So all values x y, and z are at 0. And then the further I go on any of those axes, the bigger the values get. And if you imagine that your object, such as your donut, has points, and I'm just going to go back to the other material to show you that a little clearer. So, of course, you have those points here, right? Those points that are connected and that form the surface. Those points are basically described in your coordinate system. So it says, okay, so one plane that makes the donut has 4 points. I want to see here, want to see here, want to see here, want to see here. And it's in local space. That means that 0, 0, 0 is here in the middle of the donut. But then we have several spaces in our 3D world. So one is local space, we talked about that. Then we have world space, right, which is actually our world. So our world is like all this here, like this is our room. And here, 0, 0, 0 of our coordinate system is this point in the middle, right? And our donut has its own coordinate system. And 0, 0, 0 is in the middle of the donut. But then we also have the view space. So if you look into that scene like we're doing now, and you are a camera, you will notice that obviously a camera has perspective projections. So that means things that are farther away, like the donut now, are smaller than things that are closer to us, like the donut now. And this is also another space, right? Which is, in this case, the view space. And then you also have the screen space, yeah, which is this 2-dimensional rectangle. So how do you get from one space to the next? And this is what this model matrix is here, or well, model matrix, or what the matrices are. So this is what you can do with the matrix, right? So you can do transformations, and that's described here. So basically a matrix is just a bunch of numbers, like you see here, and this is all explained in 2 dimensions until we get to 3 dimensions, which is the same idea. So this is a matrix, right? So just a bunch of numbers. And without going too far into the details, the mathematical details of it, because to be honest, I don't understand them maybe well enough to be explaining them. But essentially what we can imagine is that we can just take a matrix, a bunch of numbers, to transform our points. And so this matrix here we are using here is actually a special matrix, model view projection matrix, and this is actually 3 matrices in one. So essentially, if you look back to the coordinate systems of OpenGL, to get from local space into world space, you have the model matrix, which is basically a bunch of numbers that transforms all the points in our object to all the points in world space. Then you have the view matrix, which transforms all those to view space, and then you have the projection matrix, which transforms it to the camera, and then you have another transformation which places it on a 2D screen, but we can disregard that for now. So you see here, model, view, projection matrix, and this is all the 3 matrices. This is what this is. So we can basically move our vertex positions from one space to the other. So this here, and this we do this by multiplying it. So we just take the position of the point, multiply it by the matrix, and then we get the result. So this actually here should be the same as taking the model matrix, taking the local positions and multiplying it with this. And now let's see, let's visualize it. Let's see how it looks. So let's go back to our material. So this is using the model view projection matrix, everything together. So transforming it from object space to world space to view space to screen space. And if I take that away, you know, it looks like this weird. Now if I transform it from local space, model space to world space, it's not doing anything, and I should be able, and I hope this works now, if I just multiply that with the same matrices that we have here, model view projection, then by view. It's doing something, still kind of weird. And then I multiply it by projection matrix. Yeah, there you go. So, woohoo! Shark time! So this is basically the same, right? If I take, whether I take my local position and multiply it by, let me just make 2 branches here. My model view projection matrix, like so. It's the same as multiplying it each step of the way, right? And that way we can move the points from one perspective to the other perspective. Okay, so this is basically the explanation what that means, because again, like we talked on the last stream about it, and even Matt said, well, you know, he kind of clicks around until it clicks in, and I mean, this is basically the same I've been doing as well, but this is the underlying principle. And now, well, why do we care? Well, the cool thing is we can also move our points around with those transformation matrices. So I'm just gonna get rid of all this stuff here for now and take the model view projection matrix again. And then I'm just gonna obviously take our favorite texture as always. Oh, actually, you know, today we're gonna take this texture here. Oh, look, this is so cute. They're looking at each other. So cute. It's funny. That's, yeah, okay, can't repeat it. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know. I think you can only repeat textures that are actually square or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. So okay, so we have our texture so that we see what's going on. And now we can just say, hey, okay, let's look at a transformation matrix and then see how that works. And then here in this article, or you know, any other basic article all over the internet, we have this is scaling, this is translation, right? So this is how a matrix is set up. So you see, this is just a bunch of numbers. And then this tx, ty, tz, this is basically how, you know, your points are moved. So how do we get this matrix in Spark? How do we actually make this? Well, lucky for us, there is a patch that allows us to do just that. And it is called, what's it called? Matrix Pack. Boom. So we can actually put together a matrix like this with matrix pack. And now we see that this matrix that we need has 4 by 4 rows and columns. So this one only has 3 by 3. So we need 4, right? Okay, so let's populate it. 1, 0, 0, tx. So we can do 1, 1, 1. You know, this is how it is here also. Let me just put it next to each other. Add another one, and now we need to get those t, x, and y's in there. So what we can do, we can just say, hey, a value, and we want, yeah, one value really. Oh, actually, what we want really, we want to move it in x, y, z. So we want 3 values. And then we're just gonna swizzle that around like crazy. So basically, for the first column, we're gonna say swizzle 1, 0, 0, which is those 2 values. And now we have to look up which coordinate that is, x, like this. So now it's complaining because it doesn't have all the same inputs. But if we connect everything here, that should work. Yes. And now for the second row, we can copy it and we can look into our document again, how that works. Second row, 0, 1, 0, and Y. So I'll just put it here. Then the third row is 0, 0, 1, Z. And then the last row, well, if we keep it like that, that's fine, 0, 0, 0, 1. And now, if we take our local space positions, so now here's the thing, like if you want to move the stuff in local space, you have to put it in here. And if you want to move it in world space, you have to put it in here. So it's like basically moving the null of the object or moving the points of the object. And both should work actually. So now if we put another multiply, this is how you work with those matrices. You just put multiply. And then you put this in here. Nothing happens, okay, but our values are 0. So if we put 1, oh, it's gone because it's too big. So 0.1, 0.01. So this is because the points are very close to each other, essentially. This space, the local space, is very close to each other, the points, right? So now we can move this. So yay! Really cool, but I mean, why should we care? Because you can move it just like this, right? So why do you even care? Well, because the cool thing is you can use this to procedurally deform stuff as well, right? So because now we can actually, if we put like a multiply here in between, right, and then we make the value crazy high, 1, 1, 1, and this multiply node. Oh, hold on. Not working the way I thought it would. Oh no, sorry, I have to put it, of course, here. This multiply node here allows us to basically scale our values, right? So if I put it to 0, nothing is moved. If I put it to 1, oh, 0, 0, 1, it's a little bit moved. So that's cool, but again, why do we care? Well, because we can now feed in, for example, local normals or texture coordinates or whatever we want in there, and it should, and it doesn't work. Right. Oh yeah, because of course we have to test 2 values. We have to just use. See, and now this stuff is like bent, which is like way too crazy because again, like the values are too high. So let's just tone it down a little bit. See, and now we have basically taken it apart, right? And then we can, just for the sake of it, do a little loopy shit here and put another multiply in between so that we see actually something's moving. See? And now it goes back and forth, our object. Woohoo! And that works with any object, right? So we can use it to do, well, I don't know. What is this shit? I don't know what that is, but I'm just gonna... Oh god, what's happening? Oh yeah, I have to connect it with my account. We can basically put any, what is that, Beauty and the Beast wooden statue in there. So we have to probably adjust our values. Okay. Oh, it's also kind of angled weird. Yeah, you know, like the objects in the Spark, well, it's basically Sketchfab, right? It's like hit and miss. Sometimes they are amazing and sometimes they are just a little bit weird. So now if we put our material on this guy, let's hope it's just one object. Yes, it is. Great. So if we put now our source material on there, you see that it actually, it looks a little bit weird because we have our guys there. So let's just connect the proper material from the object we downloaded. Yeah, and it is actually moving. Very cool. Shark Tank! Well, now this is maybe not enough. See, now it's kind of doing crazy shit. And this is because we are moving it along the texture coordinates, right? But we could also use our, again, local position coordinates to do that. So if we take, see, now it's kind of scaling it a bit up. Because now it's actually taking the y-axis of, we put that here, y, yeah, of the local position to change that. And see, it's kind of doing this. And now we can just fuck around with this input a little bit, because we know, see, now it's only taking the, because, you know, it's like basically clamping. We tell it only go from 0 to 1. And so it's only taking the positive value. So it's like a band deformer, right? And let's make it crazier. Woo, woo. Or let's make it the other way around. Sorry, Z. Yeah, this looks nice. Woohoo! So, bam, boom, bam, there you go. Band deformer and Spark. And yeah, so that's this. I'm gonna save this to our beautiful folder, call it band deformer. And I'm also gonna probably put together a bunch of tools which I'm gonna upload to my Gumroad. You know that I have Shameless Plug, Gumroad, Matt Steinfort. I have this website here where you can download plugins, and I have something similar for textures. It's called Texture Tool. So if you want to manipulate textures, this is actually a cool thing to do. You can manipulate UVs and do all sorts of crazy shit with this. For example, this here, what I made. This is also a filter. And you can do similar things actually now with 3D objects. And I'm probably gonna release a tool where you can do a lot of crazy shit like this here. And I mean, you know, of course, you can also put that stuff on a face mesh if you want. Let's just get our favorite guy in here, of course. And then let's just put the material on the face mesh. Maybe now we have to, of course, scale the values again so that it works. Oh yeah, it's a little bit. See, that's a little bit too heavy. Oh, that's interesting. Well, you know, similar as we did before. But that's the, in a nutshell, beauty of matrix transformations. And you can not only do, obviously this is, we are now moving the vertices, but you can also rotate them. And you can also scale them. So, you know, here you have the information to do that. This is translation, so moving them. You can rotate them. And this, you could do a band with that as well. And you can combine all of that. And this is really what this transformation matrix stuff is. That each point gets moved and scaled and rotated. All right. So yeah, that went pretty quickly. This is basically all I had for you guys tonight to show you. So I'm just gonna see if there are any questions in the chat. And if not, we can get Sibel in. Let's see if she's here. So yeah, still feel free to ask questions on the chat if you have any. What, my accent? From Germany, from Berlin. Oh, I don't know. Whose accent you mean? No one else talking. Yeah, I don't know. She's not answering, so she'll probably join in a second, I hope. Yeah, again, just ask stuff in the chat if you want. I'm gonna think of what else maybe I could talk about. Oh yeah, I don't know whether Mark Wakefield is here, but basically what he asked is what's VD, Lasse? Vertex displacement? No, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I don't really release any filters, to be honest. I just no, yeah, but Sibel. Oh yeah, there you are. Okay, cool, very cool. Hello. Hi.
I need to get your sound off from the thing. Okay, cool.
Yes, you have to mute the chat. Mute the stream.
I'm moving a million screens around so I can see well.
You are very. Your audio is very low, though.
Let me hang on a minute. Let me come close.
Yeah, that's a little better.
I have everything plugged. So yeah, hi. This is
Hey,
an
hey.
homage to you and your sounds today.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just gonna maybe make it a little screen a little bigger. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool that it worked out. We tried that before a little earlier this evening, and unfortunately, connection was not great. But now I think, I mean, it is.
It's all a bit.
It is. You can see something. So yeah, maybe for those of you who don't know you, maybe you want to introduce yourself.
Yes. So in the my name is Sibeli actually, and on Instagram I go by AEVTARPERFORM, and in the Facebook group I'm actually Shanayana Relux, and the pronouns are actually they and them, and I'm happy that you invited me to be here.
Yeah, you were requested by the audience. So again,
yeah, really.
Yeah, Omi, actually, I did look at Sibel's stream before I made mine. So she was the inspiration. Sorry, they. So what, them?
Thank you.
I don't know. Yeah,
No,
I
that's
already.
right.
Was that they? Yeah, I already told them when we talked before that I am certainly gonna fuck it up. I'm sorry for that. But you know, I'm trying and I'm curious and learning and understanding more things. So thanks them.
Yeah, I could say that.
All right, cool. Yeah, because Ami just said in the chat that competition suppose in terms of how crazy the stream looks. Yours definitely does look crazy. I love it.
Yeah, because mine is like directly related to the art practice, which is I thought I also wanted to put it up because when we were talking about what to talk about here, then because I was not gonna present anything specifically like any like spark tricks or anything, just more talk about art and AR in art, and also I can talk about sound as well. I think I can maybe help people understand a bit about the bands and things like that. So I brought a bit of the universe that I work with actually, because I ended up at Spark, and doing AR because of my art practice. And many years ago, I was fiddling with all these sort of tiny AR apps that I would find, third party from all over, and I would be like recording a video in one and passing it to another and passing it over to another and getting the video out and then using those to make the pieces that would then compose my artwork. And then when I was wondering like how can I do this, and then eventually one day I remember I was on Instagram surfing and then I saw Joanna's filter, and it was the very beginning. I think it had just come out, and I remember I went and I looked and I was like, wait, what, there's an artist public, what, like how is this even happening? Like I need to get on this. And I went to Joanna's profile at the time, and it was not that many followers yet, so like literally had just come out. So then I just kind of went like, scavenging the web for it, and then I found Spark AR, but I didn't understand like what the beta thing meant, so I didn't apply initially, and I was just like learning and very active in the community, but really looking more in what I'm concerned on my art practice anyways, which is like ethics and inclusivity, intersectionality, and just also digital labor issues like that. And then eventually I realized what it was, because everybody was asking at the time, like, when are you getting to the beta? How do you get into the beta? And all this stuff. And then I applied and got in.
All right, cool. So how did that work? You sent them your Instagram profile, or how did you
Yeah,
do
like
that?
thing like how everybody applied, you know, it's like I downloaded Spark AR, started learning, started making things, and applied for beta. And then eventually I was in and I was publishing. I think I was have been like some kind of third wave of beta or something. It was about April that I got in, April 2019.
Yeah. And can you
And
maybe explain well, I mean, I don't know if you say your art practice, well, what is it that you do and how does it relate to AR, or vice versa? How does AR relate to your art practice?
okay, so I used to, and I still do, but before, like mostly in theory, be looking into how our cognition relates to augmented reality. For example, how we are already mostly operating in some kind of augmented reality and virtual reality and mixed reality. Because it's very hard to see each other objectively. You know, you are always, for example, projecting um, your perception of someone, right? And so it's metaphorical for me. And there's also the masks that we wear to each other, the performance, you know, how we are maybe different to, you know, our parents, to our teacher, to your best friend, to your lover, to whoever. So I've been theorizing a lot about the body as an avatar interface, working with ungendering, and so removing all these things. And then suddenly I saw in AR a tool like for working, for example, with social sculpture, which is what I've been working with on Instagram for since 2017. Like Avatar Perform is actually the name of a project um, that in itself the name is a piece already. So avatar, as in we are all avatar body, avatar interfaces through which subjectivity or the self operates. And also in performance and perform, so like a fragmented like a collective subconscious, you know, separated in various avatar bodies. And there's a play in words with the AEVTAR, which is, when you say that in Portuguese, AEVTAR perform, it could sound like to avoid performing. And and then there I have been sharing processes of self-inquiry and reflection, which I call deprogramming or avatar deprogram, like through the Insta stories. So in navigating the self and trying to uncover and deprogram myself from societal malware, so structural oppression, you know, these biases, so classism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, femphobia, and so on. And then with AR, there is a tool. You know, first I saw a tool for visibility. So they, them is actually one of my first filters. Let me see. I might have it here.
Yeah, let's look at it. That would be cool to see.
Let's put them out. I'm actually with the with my thing here.
Oh,
Oh,
you
there's
have
the first
the
thing I was actually like. Let me see.
oh,
Oh no, it's asking for an
you have
update.
still all your filters in your Spark
No, no,
AR app.
I do, but now it just kind of like asked to update. I didn't
Yeah,
check
update it.
it,
That's fine. Just you
but it's not
disconnect the
doing
screen.
anything.
You can update it
Yeah,
for
I'm
a
gonna
second.
leave the screen,
No
and
worries. We
maybe it
have
will do
time.
something. Yeah. So the they them filter. Let me just get this updating before anything. The they them filter is the simplest thing ever. You know, just getting your pronouns on your cheek. And at the time, it was like you know, in the beginning of the show, we were talking about pronouns. Like I identify as a non-binary person, which means I don't identify as either a man or a woman. Like the body has been assigned female at birth because of, you know, what the doctors see in terms of biology. But as a person, you know, the body doesn't necessarily determine what a subjectivity or a person is going to be like. This is largely determined by a whole other set of factors. That's how you come in your society, and we're largely shaped by how society is seeing us in the end of the day. So it's kind of this dance of trauma, action, and reaction in all of this. But we have our own internal, let's say, natural with hash with brackets way of being that comprises all kinds of tones and flavors and ways of being that society would classify as feminine or masculine, intertwined independently of what the gender that you have been assigned at birth, meaning that if you got an F or an M on your thing. And so in my activism with that, in the social sculpture work to do with that, um, and hearing many of my other non-binary friends, so people that are escaping the boxes of gender that use they them pronouns, feeling like, oh my god, I just wish I could tattoo this on my face. you know
Oh
Something
yeah.
like that. And so I just was like, okay, fine, one texture, boom, that on the face. And and it really resonated, with people. It went crazy, like in the queer community, and really helped, for example, map and start up an aspect of my project that has to do with demolishing any sort of aesthetic idea about a subjective concept. So for example, a person, if you take the body out and you just have like the soul, let's say, like that could be like a subjective concept, and then you have the body that the person is in, right?
Yeah.
And then there's how we think a woman or a man should be, or a queer person would look like in terms of aesthetics, right? So from the moment all these people started showing up with the they them on their faces, I could then record and map, like I could map out what these people would look like and sort of demolish a preconception about gender. And then there's another filter that like Nolan helped me to make, to do with a similar with another corner of the subject matter, which was the everybody valid, that then
Okay.
worked even better in this effort to demolish this aesthetic obsession, because you could choose, all the pronouns were there. So he, him, she, her, she, they, he, they, them. So you tap, and then when you raise your eyebrows, then you get a little surprise that said gender has no specific aesthetics, or, and then if you went with your eyebrow again, it said queerness has no specific aesthetic. So it like working for everybody. Nolan helped me because at the time I was like a baby on 3D and stuff, and I'm really thankful. Like Nolan, also Mark Wakefield in the beginning helped me a lot with a bunch of stuff. And that filter then was amazing, because then you get, trans women with beards going she her, and and like trans guys that are very femme or whatever. You just get this whole thing, and I was also documenting everybody that was tagging me. And then these works ended up at the MDBK in Leipzig for this big exhibition in this museum about art now, in including AR. So there was a lot. Like I could really talk for a long time about this, and I'll never forget when I saw David Pripas making his labyrinth of planes. And I saw that and I was like, yo, we have a beginning of autonomy, high autonomy, of autonomy for artists, in terms of like freedom from being stuck with the galleries and museums, because suddenly our work can be anywhere, and you can place a sculpture anywhere, or you can do social sculpture like I've been working with these filters, and anywhere. But for example, like you and I and three other people, we can make a little museum, light enough on AR filter, and we could say every month we get five other people to put different sound or sculptures in there, or sounds, whatever, in AR. And we can literally make like a little gallery that exists, and you can just update the filter over and over again. And that was for me incredibly liberating, because I was signed with a really big gallery up until 2018, and I was deep in the commercial art world, and it was such a fucking mind fuck. Sorry about all the cursing, but fuck it. It was fucking horrible in so many ways, and also great in others. but just feeling like in the freedom to just put my work anywhere regardless, and that more people could do so, that for me really AR just does a lot. And now I'm studying, like we were talking today, like about C sharp. Now I'm learning Unity. Like I'm taking a little break from Spark, and I'm really trying to learn C sharp because I'm, especially because of the pandemic, I started really thinking about VR. And I cannot wait for render pass.
Yeah.
Like render pass, turn that into a binocular, you're kind of like halfway. You know, a little spheric, a little sphere, a little
So
surrounding texture there.
did you study art or fine arts, or how did you become an artist?
I have an MA in painting from the Royal College of Art in London.
Okay.
And I also studied at the Beaux-Arts in Paris for a bit. And I'm also an independent researcher.
Did you ever work in
So-
painting? Did you ever paint?
Yeah. So, like I can show. Do you
Yeah,
wanna see?
let's see.
Let's do some art.
When Hannah was on the stream, she showed us this amazing sculpture stuff she was doing.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
true. Oh, I was so happy when I saw Hannah because exactly, I was like, oh my god, yes, sing background, yes. You know, and also like I remember when I did the Daydam filter, we did an exhibition, and my curator friend of mine that was creating at the at the Tate Exchange in London, like we really making the point of putting AR filters out with a QR code and saying this is an art.
So
Maybe
in the chat is asking what's your field of research at the moment?
wow. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the conflation of femphobia and platform capitalism in the brain mind, in the way that it's affecting us through exhaustion and a myriad of other things, but impeding on empathy. Like I located this in my research, this problem with the femphobia, and I'm saying femphobia specifically to include everyone. So it's not not talking about misogyny. We're not talking about the problem specific to
Speaking,
people that
speaking. Sorry to interrupt at this point, but speaking of everyone, and I feel that this being like my stream, I'm the guy who needs to ask you stupid questions so that the listeners understand what's going on. Can you explain that what you just said without using all those fancy words, and just like what is what is it about?
Okay.
Can you do an example?
Okay. Sorry, it's just because I've been writing applications all day, and my brain is just like, oh. And no, this is really important because, for example, the work I do on Instagram, I do it in the simplest language, because part of the problem is that all this fucking academic language, it just kind of marinates upon itself, and whatever needs advancing in society doesn't go anywhere because nobody.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if you're talking about basically people getting marginalized for certain aspects, there's also this idea of ableism, right? So that's like this is very only someone who would. That's, I think, like one of the issues I have with art, why I had always a hard time like wrapping my head around it and getting to terms with what art is, and kind of like getting a relationship to art myself, is that it's always so impossible to understand, like what the fuck are those people even talking about, no offense. So I want to take the chance to have you explain it in a way so that someone who's not
honestly,
if that's possible.
I really apologize for the fucking academic language that just came out of my mouth.
No, I mean, so I didn't mean it that way. I'm just curious what it means.
Yeah, so like I've been looking at like why is it that what's stopping us from being empathic with each other? Like there is a question from an Indian philosopher that I love, which is Jiddu Krishnamurti from 1966, that inspired like the beginning of my PhD proposal, which is like, it's 1966 and we are having tremendous technological advancement. And he even mentioned electronic brains. And he's like, where are we going with these electronic brains? People are still aggressive, dominant, competitive, violent. No. And I'm like, well, fuck, like, where is this fucking thing starting? Like, how can we get rid of it? Like, I'm tired of seeing trans people be beat up. I'm tired of seeing like gay people be beat up. I'm tired of seeing racism. I'm tired of seeing fucking black bodies dying for no fucking reason. Like I'm tired of seeing all this. It's just like everyone is tired. You know, it's like it's mind blowing to me. Like, and also I have an experience of growing up in Brazil, and I think that, for example, for a lot of people, like seeing me, they could be like, "Oh my god, but you're so not so queer or whatever." But believe me, for my family, this is fucking outrageous. If I show my hairy leg, they'd be like, "What? That's a man," you know. So intersection, everything always. Um, so I was looking for it, and at first I was like, oh yeah, what is the main virus, right? So the language I use on Instagram is totally to do with tech. So calling the body an avatar interface, calling the self like the user, language as an operational system, like how we communicate to each other. So these problems from society, I call them malware and viruses that get installed in ourselves and subconsciously, like either voluntarily or involuntarily. But as we grow up in this society, this shit just like it's like somebody's like putting post-its on your back, and they are like, and they activate you for some reason, right? And I'm like, okay, so what is this virus? And I was like, okay, the viruses that I'm seeing, okay, classism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, blah, blah, blah. But what's the common ground? Like, what's facilitating this in people? And then I came to toxic masculinity first. Then I was like, fuck, okay, so what is toxic masculinity? So thinking that being authoritarian is great, thinking that being violent is great. So basically, the formation, like what people use a lot to say, that like the formation of what a man would be, you know, and it's basically patriarchal thinking, like patriarchal psyche. And it's really sad because like I realized that the first person that it attacks is actually men. You know, it's like you're a boy, a little kid, and you can cry and you can do everything, and then suddenly comes a moment where like, no, man up, you can't cry and you can't do this and you can't wear that and and like starts cutting people from emotion, right? Like you're not supposed to emote, you're not supposed to feel, you're not supposed to nothing. And how the fuck can you be empathetic eventually? Because the thing is, everyone is living in a patriarchal society, and if you want to roll with it with patriarchal capitalism, either you cut the emotion out to roll with the ball to play the game, or you fucked. So then everybody's like acting like a robot, because I'm like, why are we operating like automata? Why are we humans behaving like an algorithm? Like, what is the deal? So like this is the research, and then I went from, hang on a minute, because if you talk about masculine and feminine as concepts, right? Because nothing is inherently this or that. Like it's all nuance. You know, we put a name on things. We see a group of things, and you go like, all of these fall go in this box, and all of this goes in the other box. Okay, cool. But they don't. They're not born in the box. They don't need to be in the box. You know. And then I came to, so what makes masculinity brackets toxic? Oh, it's formed on femphobia. So it's formed on the demonization of whatever the society may come to ever understand in the slightest of to do with the feminine. So grounding, nurturing, if you look at spirituality, religious, is like all the institutional Abrahamic top-down structures. All this stuff is okay, but if you think of like nurturing, collectivity, horizontality, or even like if you go to politics, most policies you see on the left, if you go by association, they would be something of the feminine, you know. So all these things. And then I started
So,
thinking
grounding,
about this
nurturing, if you look at
demonization of the
spiritual.
feminine beyond bodies, you know, not just about like the violence that happens to everyone because of the demonization of the feminine. And then I came to that in the brain because of a human behavioral biologist called Dr. Robert Sapolsky. He wrote a book called Behave, looking at violence and what makes us be violent. And then looking into cognition, and it turns out that when our amygdala in the middle of our brain, and when it's aroused, we go into fight or flight uh, situation. And when you're in fight or flight, you're just there's no perception, there's no space for empathy, there's no time for thinking. You are just gonna reproduce patterns of behavior. So that's when you get algorithmic in your behavior. You're like a little AI, you know. We go through society in the machine learning process, and then with this AI. And then what's happening in the society. So we've been in a society of scarcity, like heavy capitalism. Everybody thinks there's nothing enough for anybody. Everybody's stressed, overworked, and it's getting worse with forced digital labor, with platform capitalism. Everybody's exhausted. If you're exhausted, your amygdala is already on. If you're fearing for your livelihood, your amygdala is already on. All of this is already on. So we are already like a stressed out society, and because of the femphobia again, this is what I'm seeing with my research. Okay, I need to be peer reviewed. This is why I'm getting through these applications for the PhDs. Is that if you don't respect what the society came to understand and call feminine, how can you then allow yourself to engage with like hippie activities, like people call it hippie, like grounding yourself, getting with nature, you know being vulnerable, like allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and it's okay, all of these things.
So what I'm interested in is your basically your goal in your, well, you call it practice. Is it to understand those things, or is it to elicit change in the viewer or someone who sees your art, or is it
Both.
that people get awareness of it, or what's like the end goal?
It's both. It's like I want to understand, but I want to understand because I care for social change. That's the only thing I care about.
So the end goal would be essentially a better world, everyone living
Exactly.
together. Yeah.
This is what I want. This is
So
what I'm
maybe
looking
if
for.
we can take it back a little bit towards AR, so how does it work? Were you able to update your player thing there?
Oh yeah, let me see. Yeah. Now let's see if it's there. It should be there because like I still have some projects in here that I can show.
Oh, that's a great question actually. How do you think creating filters for free for Instagram contributes to capitalist exploitation?
Oh
which
my God.
which is, I think,
Don't
it's a great question, because we are all in this kind of like catch-22 situation where
Yes.
we use this platform we are criticizing, and I don't have an answer for that. I do see that as an issue, because I'd much rather use an open source AR platform, or but just the reach isn't there and the community isn't there. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know. What's your take on it? It's a great question. Thank you.
This is a fucking great question because this is my also main conflict. So in one hand, like I already started using Instagram before for my art practice for social change. It's because I like to piggyback sometimes in the greed of capitalism because that they are quite fast, Uh, and I'll explain. It's like this is borderline acceleration. But if you think about like the leakage that can happen, like in one hand, for example, somebody in the countryside of Brazil would never know about, for example, there's a gay kid, super effeminate, going through trouble. And if they don't have any other friends, they're feeling like they're alone, like they're super weird. And then some company, listening to the people on Twitter, decides to co opt queer and launch a whole makeup line with TV ads with drag in it, for example. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean,
This,
this is
so like,
what
this is
capitalism
brilliant.
has been doing, always adopting those
Co-opting.
subcultural things, and making it just like run the machine. And at the end of the day, what you're, as if I understand you correctly, what you are criticizing is just that, basically, right? Like, it's a status quo that is not empathetical, but it's actually just, you know, kind of
It's a
like.
bit more it's a bit more complex. It's like there's a bunch of things that I'm criticizing that I'm trying to do a social sculpture with. Like, so this example of the leakage is like, in one hand it's bad that the capitalists are co-opting a whole movement, but on the other hand, because this kid is gonna switch on TV in the countryside of Brazil somewhere and gonna see a queer person and feel validated, that's then also important. So we have to like always figure out. I don't think we can say yeah, like hard yes and hard no. You always kind of have to see your strategy really well, especially if you want to have some proper effective social change. And it's really difficult. It's not easy to to figure it out. So like in one hand, like with my practice is it started off as a criticism of performance because I find it also in the research that performance is a problem for empathy. Like, if you're already upholding the performance of gender, going back to the exhaustion, how the fuck can you be empathetic to anyone because you're so busy self-regulating to fit into a cis heteronormative society, and then suddenly you blow up at someone, something like that. And like, so everybody like super like editing life, like portraying all this and that, and fair enough also on social media. But I'm very concerned with us being cornered into self-exposure. That's why I said it's a
Yeah,
great question of
totally.
people have to be talking about it, because I am watching this platform capitalism. They created a fucking currency called followers, which is how they hooked us,
Yeah, totally.
also people from beta. uh like, but it became a capital also, but which you have to know how to monetize. But also, it's not like you can choose not to have that capital or use that capital. We're becoming obliged to have that capital,
Exactly.
because now people are looking at you. If you have a follower count, then okay, and you get the job. And then if you don't, no. But if to keep your fucking follower count, you have to play the game of self-exposure in the way that, like, then again, white supremacist classes, cis heteronormative capitalist society is behaving. If you portray that and if you give enough selfies, you stay alive. But if you don't want to engage with that, you drop. For example, with my practice on Instagram, I just kind of, I'm always working on just letting the self be, so disengaging with the practices of what you're supposed to do. And so I've been watching this fluctuation. I lost a fuck ton of people in the past few months because I couldn't be fucked to like post selfies or even like put more face filters. I just wanted to do world space stuff or make a synth or, you know. But I remember in the very beginning, even before they put me through to beta. I remember raising this question in the group. I was like, "Yo, are you all aware that we are working for Facebook? Like, we're not being paid." And like, yeah, no, but we get followers and it's so fun and it's so great. Yes, all this, yes, great. But this is the thing with platform capitalism. It lures everyone in with the seduction, with the fun, with the whatever, with validation. Oh, but, it's so cool. People get to see what I do. Like, and this is the thing with art. The whole fucking time art is working for free because we will do it because we love to do it, or because we care for social change, or because we can't fucking help it. We'll make a track, or we'll paint a painting, or whatever, we would do whatever. And they just hop on this. And the other thing that I found really concerning is, like, in one hand you have creatives being like absolutely harnessed and now a bit trapped as well, because they created a business too. It became a business now, but it's a business that's under their wing. It's not like we can like go venture and go make another app. If you want to make an app, you have to learn a whole other software. You have to be on Unity before or whatever, something else.
Well, but
If
even if you could do that, no one would download it, right? Like that's
yeah,
basically the
yeah, here's my app. Like,
yeah, that's basically the argument of Facebook, is that it's like a power play, right? Like, because everyone is on there, everyone wants to
yeah,
be on there, and this is the reason why those filters
yeah,
are successful, not because they are technically superior to other platforms or whatever other reason. It's just that everyone is on there, right? That's the thing.
exactly. And
But
in my case, just to say why I do it,
yeah.
it's because everyone is on there. So if I want to reach more people, and not for look at me reasons, but for social change reasons, I have to navigate the waters. You know, we have to do that.
I mean, I
But I
think
just wanted to.
what is interesting, especially I think one um, a characteristic of art is always that it's self-reflective, right? That it understands
Yeah,
its own position in something and the position of its own media. So what this is something I feel that could be very interesting to play with, that, to say, hey, I am gonna use it, but I'm aware of that, and to kind of like make that part of the topic in a way. And I mean, I haven't done that because I'm not an artist in that sense. But I think that would be interesting. And so yeah, let's see. Did you get the app going so that we can maybe look at an example?
I got it going. Let me just see if it's gonna open it though, because it's not. It's saying to update again. I've updated. I don't know what's going
Well,
on.
let's
I'm still on my Instagram. I do it on
update it
my
again. Okay, good. Yeah, we can do that.
I'll do it it on the Instagram.
So you kept Instagram. Can I ask, what are you using to get the screen on the to monitor the screen of your phone?
This mess.
Was that?
Hang on, I need to replug it because it stuck. I'm
Oh,
using Cam Twist for the whole thing.
Cam Twist. Yeah, I don't know.
Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can get it to do what it's supposed to do. Come on, trust the computer. Oh, here we are. Cute. Oh, hang on a minute. You must not see this. Oh, it's
Yeah.
not showing the number. Great.
No,
Good.
we can't see it.
Cool. Okay, cool.
Oh, Cam
So
Twist
let's
is
go back in the
Cam Twist is something like OBS, yeah?
No, you use Cam Twist to go through OBS. Cam Twist is a bit more. It's like you get to put whatever image you want, whatever text you want,
Yeah.
like whatever, like literally whatever you want in there. So
Right.
here's the first one.
Oh, you can put that. Oh, I see. All right.
Oh, where is it? It's loading.
Oh, that's pretty cool. No, I mean, I get it.
Very
So
cool.
basically, this is like for people to kind of say, "Hey, this is my pronoun."
Exactly.
All right, oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And then hang on a minute. Let's load. So many fail. Like honestly, because of this conflict, I have to admit, I'm gonna say it's like I am totally with you. You know what you were just saying about the platform. And I also like I am still there, and I am aware that the people that work at Spark, you know, they are really nice people, and I had wonderful conversations with Dan Muller as well. So I think it's much more productive to, you know, engage, you know, and talk, you know, and bring up the questions than just be like fuck this, fuck it out there. Like I'd rather get into the system, you know. So this is, oh my god, sometimes it's not reading my eyebrows. So this is my pronoun, but then you can choose the pronoun that you
Yeah, that's pretty
feel
cool.
like
I like that.
fits you, or you like queerness has no specific aesthetics, or gender has no specific aesthetics. But most recently, because I've been getting even more annoyed with gender more than ever, I made this one.
Oh yeah, I said this is also your profile picture, right?
No, not sure. Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know what is the profile picture now. Oh no, this is the one that it was before. Yeah. So this one it just keeps on. I just mixed all the filters and the pronouns keep rolling on your face the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever, you know, just people, just whatever. And then, but when you turn it, let me find my face somewhere here. See if you can recognize the face somewhere. Hang on. I need to point it this way and look here. Maybe this is gonna do. Oh yeah, there you go. And so if you speak like this or speak like that, it's going to change the tone. I don't know. There is a bug that I haven't investigated just yet. You know, it's
It's a little hard to see, to be honest, with all the craziness going on in your stream.
it's okay. Sorry, it's just basically it's a fuck ton of faces spinning around, and I made it for an
Right.
exhibition that I did at the Science Gallery in London. That the more people you get, all the faces start scrambling and pronouns are spinning crazy. And but the real piece for that is actually on Facebook. Let me see if I can get the. I'm gonna use the QR code from my website. Hang on, because I have a QR uh for it in there. I know actually from an application. The many fucking applications I've been doing. Where is that application? 2020. PDF. It's gonna take 2 seconds. 2 seconds. No, where is that? Ah, gosh. Anyways, I need to find it. Where is that freaking PDF? Ugh, I'm getting anxious. Hang on, PDF. Oh, I got nervous now. I'm never gonna find it. No, but I have it on my website. Let me go to my website. Is it, where's the page? Okay, here. Let me just pull a page to this other.
You can also, what you can also do is you can follow up, and then I can just put it in the Discord chat.
Interesting. one has like loads of sculptures in the space, and then when you like, it was a cube, like a mirror cube, and in there, like there were QR codes everywhere with specific filters that related to that piece. And here, bodies of work. Okay, cool, found it. I can share the screen as well somewhere. Let's need to find. I'm gonna turn on the camera from the phone and just like show it. So here we are. Uh, it's in this AR filters here. Let me get the QR. Okay,
Oh wow,
this
that's
one.
a lot of.
Sorry, this one. Oops. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, no, that one has got a bug, like, because the audio, when you move your head, you're supposed to pitch your voice up and down, and there's all this stuff happening. But it was like the day before this opening. Oh yeah, there they are, the little sculptures. See where they are? Normally, if it catches my face, the face should end up in one of the sculptures. Oh shit,
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's impossible to see, unfortunately. But if you want, you
yeah,
can follow up with the link, and I can post it in the chat. Hey,
yeah.
so
Let me
you
just
were
post the link.
saying you have all the music setup ready, yeah? And we had this little
Oh
plan.
my god, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, we had that plan to basically, because you're also doing a stream, right? To rate your channel.
Yeah, I decided last minute just because I plugged everything because we were talking. I was like, oh, like Coco, my partner was like, are you plugging your stuff? And I was like, ah,
So
yeah, because
shall we
plugging all
do
my
that, or
stuff.
do you want to maybe do one? I don't know how you do that, like if it's a tracks or if the, or whatever it is you're
I
doing.
can do something now here, and then we can swap to my channel.
Yeah, cool. All right.
I just wanted to show another thing though, real quick
Yes.
for art. Like here we are. So this is the one from my profile picture. Let it load. So that's one
Oh
studio
yeah,
from
that's the one.
2013. Yeah. So yeah, this is what got me thinking. I was like, come on, please give us render pass. You know, cost. Come on, bring it. Just give it to us. Because then we can just make little VR situations with a little, do a little binoculars. At least, it's just a 360, but it's all right. You can make someone stick their
Yeah,
phone into
that's
a
cool.
box
You could do that. Yeah.
and then roll up and all this. And the thing that I'm really excited to do some more is more sculpture scenes though, which is this. Don't know if it's gonna do the sound, but let's see. Where are they? Oh, there. Let me turn up the sound here on my phone. Hang on, oh yeah, can you hear?
No.
Where is it? Wait, there. Oh, I took a picture by accident. Anyways, it's also there. You can see the image. It's the third QR code to the
Yeah.
right on that page.
Yeah, we have the
I've been watching your your Vertex stuff a lot because I want to get them to wobble.
yeah. Yeah, you should be able to do
Yeah,
that.
but I've been like, yeah, but with the struggle with the whole Facebook relationship, sometimes I go through phases where I just can't do anything on Spark because I'm just going through like,
Well, yeah. So here's all
I,
your filters, right? I'm just opening up
yeah,
your website here.
yeah,
And
and
yeah, it's in the chat. Like if you want to try
then
it out, just go to this website here,
really,
and then you can use the QR codes to check the
yeah,
filters.
yeah, and for the paintings as well, because you asked about it, like if you just go back like to the main,
Oh, okay, yeah. Hold on.
like yeah, and then there's also videos. I'll just put the main here on the chat. Um,
Oh, I see.
and yeah, like all the rest of the art practices in there.
Wow. Auto start. Oh my god. Auto start. Yeah. Looks cool though. Very cool. Very cool.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh my God, that middle one was so much trouble just because I was being dumb on like not like getting stuff slow. Yeah, this is the opening of the site. It's just when it's a special of 20 minutes on the Spanish TV, and on the right is me talking about names and stylish herbs.
Cool.
But then when you go in, like when you click on the symbol above, you end up in the main part where you have bodies of work and shows collabs and stuff. And I even made a part there where you have like studio visit. I'm gonna put it.
Oh, that looks cool. Oh, here
Yeah,
AR filters. Oh, that's where we were. Whoa, shit, man. There's a lot of stuff going on.
there's a lot of stuff.
This
Like,
I love this image here. That looks really cool.
thank you. Yeah, that's the image that's in that filter.
Yeah, that's really
And
nice.
like this page here has like studios across time, in 360. Yeah. And I've been mostly
Oh,
doing
nice.
3D on Gravity. Basically, everything you see is mostly done on Gravity design.
What? Oh, yeah, yeah. This is like this. Let's look at that
Yeah.
gravity design. I just asked what that is, right?
It's
haven't tried it.
fun. Like, you got your
This
options. You need to
thing
go hang out.
is this here?
This is my
No,
studio at the Art School. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no.
If you
Hold on. This is.
scroll, there's other 360 studios, so you get to see like work in progress and stuff.
Uh, no,
Like,
that's probably not the one you're talking about, right?
no, 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 no. All
Gravity
the
sculpt. What is this? Gravity sketch. That's what it's called, right?
No, it's Gravity Design. No, is it Gravity? Fuck, I don't remember. It's in the Oculus though.
Yeah, yeah. Gravity sketch.
Oculus thing. I think
Yeah,
it's Gravity. Oh fuck. Oh, yeah, I don't, can't see now. I'm really bad with names. I really
yeah.
like
It's
numbers.
gravity sketch. We have it here. We have it here on the
Yeah,
screen.
maybe that's. Yeah, yeah. That's.
Well, all right. So I don't know, guys on the chat. Like, if you want to ask something, go ahead.
Yeah,
And
you guys can ask anything.
otherwise, I think we should maybe do song.
Yeah, or yeah. I'll do. Okay, I can do a sound here. It's funny. I was trying to get like one of my old tracks like up because like there's this whole past, of my life that I've been, as we're talking about the art practice, I'm trying to like defragment myself and then collect aspects of myself that I left behind. And I have this whole past of many years as a singer with many albums like toured the world and all that. And I've been pretending like I have never done it. And
Why that? Why is that?
ah, fuck, it's such a long story. I think, on one hand, I got really tired of music industry, but also I'm really tired of like the sexism of everything. And I kind of needed to get off the stage because I basically had a camera on my face since I'm 14 years old. Like I've been acting, like acting and modeling. And then like by 19, I was signed with a record label, and then I was in Europe, and then I was touring, and that's all I've ever done. Like I always had some, and I just kind of wanted to get my life for myself for a bit, and I felt like I was about to transition, which I did, in so many ways. So I didn't feel like I could do that on stage at the time. I mean, oh, Autonomy is asking, oh, me, best way to set up AR for exhibitions, galleries. Okay, so depending, I've been doing stereoscopes. That's what I call them. Like, no, sorry, periscopes. Like, I have an image here I can show. Let me put on my thing. I'm just gonna put on any of these. Um, Open an image dropper here. Sorry, image overlay. Okay, and get it. I'll show exactly what happened at the science gallery. Like, slideshow is better actually. There it is. Image overlay. I can find the slideshow now. Um, so here we are. Uh, 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 uh. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna come up. There's a delay on the stream. It's not there yet. Oh yeah, here, slideshow. Cool. No, slideshow picture in picture. Boom. So yeah, this is now it's gonna work. Okay. So that's what happened in London, but Omi was there. So this one, basically, the way it works is that I have a phone on the back of the. Let me put it back. I have a phone at the back of the screen, and I forgot how we did the mirroring right now. Like my memory is really shit. But basically, the camera is picking up who's behind the screen. So I had the sculptures in space in this mirror room, and and a bunch of face trackers and a lot of stuff happening. Yeah, last year I have a Wikipedia, and everything is kind of wrong in there. There's a lot of truth there. Hi, David. There's a lot of truth, but there's also, the pronouns are wrong, obviously. Um, yeah. So, and I also done booths, like it really depends on me. It's like it depends on what you want with the viewer. This is what I always say for anything like this, because it's never just about if like the form. You have to always take into account the setting. Like, what's the situation? What do you want to get with it? Like, how does that material that you have in the room, um, will work with what's there? There's all this stuff. So it's really like, I'm gonna show something else real quick before, because I can see that it's pressing for time, and my computer is having shit RAM. I know. But like, coming up soon after this delay, there is another show. Where there was the smoothest setup I've seen it. Lol. Yeah, no, it was very smooth. It was pretty smooth. I mean, it was stressful. It wasn't that smooth. It looked really smooth once it was done, but it was a land of stress, because also, Spark is in beta, and you were in my house, Omi. You remember? We were like, Omi really helped me out, because we had to debug the whole piece, because there was this update from Spark that made like occluders disappear, and then all kinds of shit happened, and basically, like, I was just in panic. Like, nothing was working anymore. It was really bad. Like, and eventually it did. But then in the opening of the show, somebody managed to pull the freaking cable, like, and broke the the periscope, which then had to be fixed later. Like, trying to see what I'm showing. It's so confusing.
Well, shall we maybe jump over to your channel then? And then
Yeah,
you
let's
can.
jump over to my channel.
All
Anybody
right.
that wants to come over, I'm gonna start streaming now.
Yeah, start streaming, and then I'm just gonna
The stream has started.
rate your channel.
Let me just get this video.
What's your I also hold on. I have you in the list here.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
I mean, absolutely. it's it's the same. It's a.
No, yeah, I got it. But I think you have to start streaming before we can rate.
Okay, I did.
Okay, well, maybe it just takes a second.
It takes a little while. Maybe it's because I'm on the Google Hangouts. I wonder.
Oh, now it works. Okay, so now let's see.
I wonder where the hell's my menu gone. I'm trying to get my menu. Oh, yay! Here we are. We're handing over. Campus window.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna hand over to Sibel, and see you all next week, hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you, Mate.
Bye bye.
Loved being here.
Yeah, I gotta stick around and see you on the channel.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Watch now.
hang out to find the thing. I need to stop sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah, it is confusing, the live stream stuff with all the windows.
Confusing.
All right.
I don't know what
Bye.
it is. I literally I lost a panel that I can't find.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna hand that over to you. So
Okay.
it's now in your hands. Bye bye.
Thank